Hey guys, George at SoundTraxx here. This week I wanted to share with you one of the installations I just got done doing using the Blunami 1100 into an old Bachmann Spectrum. That's right, the dual motor 44 tonner. That's it here in front of me. So I'm going to share with you what I did on this installation step by step so that you can install the Blunami 1100 into your Bachmann 44 tonner. So, what do you say we get started? Now I've had this one here. This is for a friend of mine. This isn't mine because it's a Baltimore and Ohio and it is a Bachmann 44 tonner. Now as many of you guys know, I model Missouri Pacific and the Mopac. They had some 44 tonners, but they retired them early, and the years I model, they would have been recycled 2 times over by then. So I don't personally own any of these, so I decided to take this on as a task just to see what I could do with it. And I will say I was pretty successful. We got our locomotive here. Let's go backwards here. And you can see I've got the locomotive running. And we'll go forward just a little bit, just so you can see that I've got the locomotive running and it is fully encased in there. So I'm going to show you step by step what I did without boring you with a long 45-minute step-by-step installation video. So what did I use? Well, first off, I used the BLU 1100, and this is the GE version, so I get that dual Caterpillar that you would see inside the GE 44 tonner. I also used 2 of our Mini Cube 3s, and these are actually mounted inside the cab, as I'll show you as we get further along. Now these 2 speakers are wired in series, so the decoder sees an 8 ohm load, and I did turn the volume down a little bit, so that's why it is somewhat quiet here in person, but we'll get into that type of stuff here towards the end. Also, I was able to employ the Nix Trains Power Bridge 3 with using the small capacitors. Now, there was not much space, and the way this particular model is designed, as you'll see in the little bit here, there wasn't any way to cut any more space out to make room for one of our current keepers and speakers and so forth without completely disintegrating the entire structure of the locomotive. So we used the Nix Power Bridge 3, we put it in there, and all of this fit, and then I used 2 of our 3mm golden white LEDs. All of that is installed inside this model. I know, it seems very difficult, but first let's go ahead and start. Now, when you take the shell off, you're going to see this first picture of the raw shell of the raw mechanism. And I will say that honestly, I didn't personally take a picture, so this is a picture screenshot I found online. And the reason is because I wanted to investigate and see what was necessary. And doing some preliminary measurements, you'll see that space is tight. Now, the chassis of this basically is a giant T, where you have the weight in the middle between the 2 motors, and then you have a branch that goes out at the top, and then the motors are screwed to the top of that T, so they basically dangle and hang down below. And I guess that's what Bachmann has allowed to negotiate some tough track geometry or whatever that could be out there. So what I had done was I had actually taken some Play-Doh. Now you guys have seen this in a prior video, and made some balls and stuck it on top of the chassis and put the chassis down in place. And then when I removed the shell, you can see how much space was done. And again, I apologize I didn't photograph this, but you can go back and watch the Play-Doh video after you're done watching this one to see what it is that I did. So once I removed the original circuit board, there wasn't much space. So what I ended up having to do was I ended up having to cut about 1/8 of an inch metal from the middle of the frame, and that gave me just enough to put the Blunami 1100 down into it and fit it in there. So you can see some pictures here. This is my milling machine, quote unquote, set up at home. This is a cheap, I want to say it's about a $50 vise. It's an XY table with a vise on it that I can bolt to my drill press, and then I can go in and move the machining back and forth. So you can see kind of the cutting, you can see the cutting in progress, and then now you can see the finished frame. Now on top of the frame, there's the holes where the trucks mount, and then next to that are slots where the wires come up. And so what I had done was I had cut a square all the way across between these, I don't know, I'll call them guides. They were the circuit board guides on the original that kind of stuck up a little bit. And then in the model, I had a little bit of space above that. But anyway, I had cut fully in there down 1/4 of an inch. But if I had cut all the way to the slot, then this, where the frame breaks away, wouldn't have been maintained. It would have fallen apart in my hand. So I had left that alone, cut all the way out, and then cut slot into where the wires come up between those guides, I'll call them, sticking up. So you can kind of see that in these pictures as I'm showing you. Now, the biggest part was that these trucks are self-contained. And so the original truck, if I had just taken it out and put it on a DC track and turned it up, the truck would run away. So we had to isolate the motor. So first you'll see the assembled truck. There's 4 screws along the top that you take off, and the top half of that truck assembly comes off, and then the motor just lifts out. Now inside the motor, or inside that truck and gear assembly, you'll see these 2 little metal tabs that are soldered to the track pickup. So you have the track pickup that comes up on each side, and then there's a tab, as you can see, that will go in and hit the motor on the top and the bottom where the poles are. So what I had done was I had cut those off and then soldered wires to the motor itself and then reassembled the truck. Now, the trucks face each other, so if they were wired the same, then what will happen is you'll have gray to orange and orange to gray. But so what I had done during this assembly was when I had put them together, I had wired them opposite. So gray wire and orange wire are on opposite poles on the 2 motors. So that way when they face each other, they turn the same way when you wire orange to orange and gray to gray. So after I assembled these trucks, I started putting them in the chassis. You can see those illustrations here. And basically routing the wire in. So I put the first truck in and tested the fit to make sure there was enough play and motion of the truck. And then I installed the second one so you can see that in the pictures. Now, the next thing I did was I test fit the Blunami to make sure it fit before I started wiring everything down permanently, because if it didn't fit, then I may have to go back in and do some more cutting to make the space for it. But as you can see in the pictures, it fit perfectly. Now, just a little side note, if you're installing a TSU 1100, the BLU 1100 is about 1/8 of an inch longer than the TSU 1100. So if you're putting in the TSU 1100, you'll have plenty of space. The BLU 1100 fits in this space as well. So it was absolutely perfect. So once I've wired it, once I've test fit everything in, I was happy with it. I went ahead and wired it in and installed the NIX power bridge in addition to it. Now on each end they had traditional light bulbs. I've replaced those with our LEDs, used shrink tubing over it to insulate everything, and then run those wires up to the decoder so that my headlight and backup light work perfectly. Now the last thing I did was I mounted those 2 cube speakers. As I mentioned, I put them together in series. But in order to fit up inside of here, what I had done was I had taken the 2 speakers and glued them back to back, so that way the plus and minus were together on each side. So I could solder a small little bridge from the plus on one to the negative on the other, and then the 2 speaker wires went to the terminals on the other side. Then what I had done was I had taken a little bit of some microscale crystal clear, just put a very thin coat on the back, and glued that to the top inside of the cab. Now I did remove the cab to make sure, because the last thing I did was solder those wires in place, because that way I could feed the wires up through the chassis and then just drop it down in place. Now when I built the Mini Cube 3s, as you guys know, there's different baffle depths because you may not have a lot of space. That's why you're looking at the Mini Cube 3. But on these, I actually decided to go ahead and use the thickest or the deepest baffles that I had, and they actually fit just about perfectly. Now this particular model has 1 open window, so the sound is coming out through the window and around. But like I said, I did turn it down because, you know, we're not standing next to the real thing. So once I wired everything in place and taped it all down, I used some Kapton tape to tuck it in, and then again make sure that I wasn't too high to clear that chassis when it fit. So the next thing I did was then I went ahead and test fit the body, make sure the body fit in place before I installed the cab, and before I wired in the speakers, just to make sure everything was there. Then I went ahead and wired the speakers up, and then just gently laid the cab on top while I test run it back and forth to make sure it works, and it worked just fine. So then I went ahead and snapped the cab back down in place, tucking the wires in, and from the sides with the windows, you'll never see the speakers, and everything fits together literally just perfect. So the good news is that when you get a tough install and you're looking at it, you can look at it from different lenses. You know, don't always take the traditional method. I've done some installs in the past where you had to think a little bit outside the box. For example, instead of a decoder and speaker, you put the speaker in, and then you mount the decoder at an angle above to accommodate for a roof slant or change, stuff like that. So don't always think you have to follow the same method. Get creative and be very neat with your wiring. Cut things short, make sure your solder joints are there, and make sure everything's properly insulated, so that way you can make sure that the decoder installation is done the best way. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Like I said, this is one of the more challenging decoder installations because, as you can see, there ain't much room inside this thing. So with a little bit of milling, and honestly, you could probably do that with some hand tools at home, but because of the way it was done, and I do a lot of this now, I decided I went ahead and got the XY table, picked it up at Amazon for, like I said, it was around 50 or 60 bucks, and then you pick up a pack of milling bits for about 14 or 15 bucks, and watch some videos online to learn about milling so that you don't just go randomly start cutting and have the model fly off at you, or you end up, God forbid, doing worse damage to yourself. So with the Blunami, like we talked about, you can go in and make your changes. So you can see this still says Blunami V1.0 there at the top. We can go into our settings, general settings. Now this is Locomotive 20, so we can come up here and make this address 20, and then we can change our Loco nickname. So we'll go back and then come back into it, and there's our logo. You can see the Baltimore and Ohio 44 tonner number 20, and we've got our speed, and now you can see I'm moving at speed step 1 and forward. And then we'll go ahead and stop it and move it in reverse. Like I said, I'm just on a small little test table here. So we'll go ahead and move it in reverse. You can see that I've got full control of it using the free Blunami app. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. If you guys have a difficult installation, you know, feel free to look at this and get some ideas. And don't be afraid to try to change things up. Remember, the one installation method isn't always the best, but there are options out there. And if you have any questions or want to dive deeper into this, give us an email at support@soundtraxx.com, or give us a call and we'll be happy to chat about this installation and any other type of difficult installations you may encounter. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.